Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You know, we hear we've heard it's a kind of a well-known thing that in order to so-called gain the knowledge, or unfortunately there is some words which are used, spiritual enlightenment, which create some kind of a very esoteric connotation, you need to do tapas. Okay, so what is our imagery when we say that, okay, tapas, what happens? We think that somebody has gone to Himalayas, somebody is sitting and doing this great tapas, and then the knowledge kind of dawns on that person and the person is enlightened. This is our cliche. Okay, now do you see that? Okay, and do you see what Gita is talking about? Okay, what is so-called enlightenment? What is it? Is it something dawning on you and some light coming and then you are kind of, some enlightened being? Is it that?
No.
What is it?
The work you put into yourself to learn and understand this.
Exactly. Okay. So the whole knowledge is, this so-called moksha has got nothing to do with your sitting and then something extraordinary happening to you. It is becoming alive to certain realities. So becoming alive to realities are there, but I'm missing them. Okay, they don't depend upon me for their existence. Okay, but I miss them in my awareness, and I live from a certain standpoint, which may be like a partial understanding of things. It's not a totally wrong understanding of things. I think in the beginning, Alka gave an example, which is used, by the way, in Vedanta. Okay, the blind people, there is an elephant. Okay, the people are blindfolded, and they go and they touch the elephant. Okay, what are they going to say? What is elephant like?
Whatever they touch.
Exactly, whatever they touch. So that means if they are touching the tail, what does elephant seem like them to them?
Raw.
Exactly. If they are touching the tusk, if they are touching the ears, if they are touching the skin, the main body, right? So can you say that all of them are totally wrong? No, right? They are not wrong. But do they have the totality of what the elephant is? Okay. And this is exactly how we live our life. Okay? We have experiences, we try to give some meaning to those experiences, and then we confirm our beliefs, our conclusions right? And then those get reinforced and further entrenched, okay? And then this is how we continue to live in the world with a certain partial understanding, or at times even distorted understanding. Okay? It's not only partial, but the partial understanding also then can lead to distortions. Okay? And to undo all of that, okay, is what? Tapas. Okay? You have to grow as an individual to hold the whole vision. Okay? You have to give up your conclusions, you have to give up your opinions which are limiting, which are not based on certain realities. Okay? So what did we see as tapas yesterday? What is tapas? It's not going to Himalayas and sitting and what did we see? What was 3 types of tapas? Sharirik tapas. What is sharirik tapas?
Keeping the body, physical
body clean. Ahimsa. These are all the values that you need to cultivate in order to be the person who is ready for understanding this reality. Okay? What is vak tapas?
How you speak.
Your speech. Anudvega karam vakyam. Okay? And then what? Satyam, priyam, hitam. We saw that. Okay? Satyam, we added one more nuance. What is it? Ritam. Satyam is, I say what I think. Second, I make sure that what I think is in keeping with reality. Big difference. Okay? These are all the values which need to be cultivated. Okay? Then we saw manas and tapas. What did we see? Bhava samshuddhihi. What is bhava samshuddhihi? Okay. Bhava samshuddhihi is, there are distortions in the way I look at things. Okay. What are the distortions? We talked mainly about what? Feeling of guilt and hurt.
Yes.
Okay. These are the prime, basic, each one carries some amount of guilt and hurt in us. Okay. And until it is addressed, all this spirituality and you, the person, there will be a distance. Anything that you learn and how you feel about yourself and how you feel about that lack from which you operate will never go away. Okay? One thing is very important, and that is you have to understand this, because this is critical to growing as a human being. Okay? This is something that you must take home. Okay? That we generally look for spiritual solutions to our psychological problems. Okay? We have a sense of want, we have a sense of not being loved, we have the sense of, somehow that, things, inadequacies, lacks. Okay? So these are all anger, sadness, these are all what? What problems? Psychological problems. They follow what? Psychological order. Okay? And we look for spiritual solutions. Okay? Spiritual solution as such, looking at psychological problem from a spiritual angle, in a way it is very useful. Because you don't just stay there, you shift your paradigm. Okay? You see things from a bigger picture so that you put your psychological problems in a perspective. Okay? But at the same time, your spiritual evolution will not take place unless you address those problems at that level. Okay? You cannot bypass psychological order. Okay? You need to address that. Okay? So therefore, there are some causes which is leading for you to feel a certain way, to think a certain way, okay? To relate to the world in a certain way. Okay? And that will not automatically go away unless you make some attempt. Okay? This is something that even if you hear the fact that you are limitless, which I will show you as the camp is coming to an end, how, right? That part we haven't seen yet, okay? But even when you understand, somehow cognitively you catch some glimpses of this fact, as I will show you, okay? Still, what will happen is your personal being, okay, who's feeling unwanted, who's feeling insecure, will continue to be there. Okay? That requires a different addressing altogether. Otherwise, there is this huge problem of what we call dissociation. Dissociation is a huge problem. What happens? People try to bypass the psychological order, okay, and then think about something bigger. Okay? But that thinking about something bigger will only ring the bell in your mind if those psychological issues are addressed at that level. Okay? So dissociation is one of the biggest problems. Okay? Even in our, when sadness comes, what do people do? Oh, I'm limitless. This is the most dangerous thing. I tell you, the most dangerous thing, it is like an illusion, triple, square, whatever, right?
Yeah.
This is why this teaching it's a responsible teaching. Okay? It's not just some superficial, to make you feel good, yeah, I'm limitless. It's not like that, right? There is certain sincereness, there is certain sanctity attached to this knowledge. Okay? So therefore, we saw in the meditation, Manasik Tapas Bhava Samshuddhihi. What do we do? The opportunity is given to us to do what in the meditation? To contemplate and to free ourselves, right, from all these burdens that we are carrying. Each individual is carrying those burdens. Nobody is free from it.
Yeah.
Right? To anybody to think that I am free from it, the person is deceiving oneself. Okay? Those issues need to be addressed. Okay? One thing is at the level of psychology, as I showed you, that when you have anger or sadness, you look into it. Generally what happens? We push it aside. When we push it aside, it comes out with a more vengeance. Okay? So therefore, you address it, you try to understand it, you try to understand what are the distortions that you are telling yourself which is leading to those feelings. Okay? And then you correct your understanding of those situations. Only when you correct the understanding at that level, over a long period of time, you will be free from, in fact, even if that feeling comes, even if that emotion comes, it will lose its capacity to shake you. Okay? It is like taking the sting out of a scorpion. Scorpion will remain, okay, but the sting goes away. Okay? So that means the emotional life has to be dealt with. Okay? That is part of the order. You can't bypass the order. Okay? Dharmic life, growing as an individual, all has to be done, without which this knowledge will just be a vague idea. It will not be real for you. Okay? This is how the order works. Okay? We saw how does one thing is to just understand, okay, what is happening and to remove your distortions. And modern psychology has many different tools to help you in the process. Okay? And one has to help oneself with those techniques and those studies which are available. Okay? And then those practices that are available, they are useful. Okay? But ultimately, okay, let's say you feel unwanted, let's say, okay, and then you track it down to the fact that, okay, when you were young, your parents somehow did not make you feel wanted. Okay, so now the feeling that you have of being unwanted is the responsibility for it is transferred to whom? The parents, right? Now then you say, okay, now I understand the reason for me to feel this way is because of my parents. Okay, but does it completely heal you? No. Right? So that means you now feel, but why did my parents do this to me? Okay? Ultimately, you only can resolve everything in what? Isha,
Isha.
Ishvara, in form of the order. Okay? Ishvara, if you begin to see intimately in form of the order, what will you do? You will understand that that person at that given point in time behaved with me in that given manner because there is what? A cause for that. Right? That person himself or herself was caught by what? The experiences of that person which made the person that way. Okay? What is the use? Now you can think, you can resolve, you can actually say that that person at that point in time could not have what? Behaved any better. Okay? But the hurt that is associated with that memory, what do I do with that hurt? Because the events have taken place, right? And they carry a certain impression which not only is stored, but that keeps interfering in my interaction in the present time. It doesn't go away, right? If it was just sitting there as a sitting duck, you can just live with it. But it doesn't just sit there, right? It actually interferes. It interferes in the way you assess the situation, okay? The way you interpret situation, the way you respond to situation. Okay? So that means that hurt needs to be taken care of. Okay? Now, when you understand that there are forces, okay, which then where your feeling of hurt is also what? Within the order. Right? You don't resist it. Surya says you don't resist realities. Okay? Your feeling of hurt is valid. Because it follows a psychological order. Okay? But the order means what? It means that right now you need not be governed by impressions that are created by your past memory. You can use your free will to do things differently, not out of the influence of the experiences and the impressions that they have created in you. And that the parents, in the name of, there is a lot of like competition, recently there was, I do classes in Mumbai, so one lady came to me and she was just saying that, my elder son is doing so well, and he's now going to go to Northwestern University and this and that, and these people are very affluent and very well-to-do and very high-profile people. But my young son is like, really he doesn't know what he wants. I said, how old is your young son? He says, 14 or 15. I said, by 14 or 15, who figures out what one wants in life? I said, as adults, we are still trying to figure out what we want out of life. How do you expect this 14-year-old child to know everything about it? Okay? And then what happens, as I talked to her, I realized that all the time that other son was praised. Okay? Oh, see how well he's doing in the school. Oh, see, he's got into Northwestern University. Oh, see, he's really, coming first in the debate. How does the other child feel? You're not actively dismissing him or insulting him or making him feel inadequate. You're not actively criticizing him. Okay? You're just praising the other child. But what is the perception of the other child? What is the perception of the other child who's seeing at home, the brother always being praised without you even being criticized?
That he's inadequate.
Exactly. That sense of inadequacy is something which is very much there. Then how does it manifest? How does it manifest?
Lack of focus, lack of orientation.
Exactly. Then what does the mother say? Oh, he doesn't know what he's wanting, right? Then further thing. Oh, you don't know what you're wanting, look at your brother.
Reinforcing the whole thing.
You see? Reinforcing the whole thing. Okay? So that means it is entanglement which is further and further getting strengthened. Okay, to come out of it requires effort. Because why it requires effort? Why can't you just do it overnight?
Well, it's a habit. It's, it's strong. It's
And it
something
follows a
hard
certain order.
to order.
Right? So
Also, you really have to understand what you're doing. Accept
Exactly.
that what you're doing is wrong before you can say, I'm not going to do
Okay.
it.
So now in this case, he's not even actively criticized, but imagine if the parent is actively saying, you're no good.
Oh God.
Actively. What happens?
Yeah.
What is the impact on child?
Probably start to rebel.
Huh?
Probably start to rebel.
Absolutely. Okay. So that means that the number of things that we all carry within us, okay, is just too much. Okay. You need not actually, there's so much in what we call in our unconscious. Our capacity to first even to bring it to conscious is something which is limited. Okay, you can't, otherwise whole lifetime will go in bringing out what all is lying there and dealing with it. Okay, what do? You live life. Situations will present themselves. When situations come in front of you, they will test whether you are operating out of your wisdom or you are operating out of your habits. It will tell you very clearly
Yes, absolutely.
whether you are still under the hold of all this guilt, hurt, anger, jealousy, sadness, or you have made an effort to help yourself to a much bigger and more beautiful and comprehensive framework. It will tell you very clearly if you pay attention to it. And it's not something that is, something which is, it's dynamic. So what do? I make an effort. I help myself constantly. So this is what Lord Krishna gives a lot of emphasis to what we call abhyasa. Abhyasa means repeated kind of a thing. It's not a one-time thing. It's not like one time you have come to Gita class and you've understood all these wonderful values and from tomorrow you are going to be all transformed human beings. No. Right? That is a process which requires work on your part.
The thing is, sometimes you don't even see, only when you're on this journey, like you said, the spiritual journey, you start to become aware. But a lot of people, like that critical guy or whatever, is not even aware that this is happening.
Exactly.
And that is where you're, coming to these classes, making you aware of our behavior and meditating on it.
But Meera, the biggest irony is that for 3.5 years he comes to these classes and all this is being taught. It doesn't touch him because that awareness of, that hasn't taken place. Right? If somebody is not aware, it's another thing altogether, right? But you come here and you listen to it and you are still untouched by it. What does it mean? Okay? So that means this framework is heard, right? And that behavior which is governed by certain thing is also there. Now, what has happened? There is resistance. Okay? Either there is a big time resistance, okay, or there is an attempt to what? Bypass this whole order.
And maybe when his thing is ready, at some point this thing inside will open. Like he may not be ready for it, even though like, you're planting the seed.
Exactly.
And some other day.
Absolutely. It will take place. It cannot but take place because 3.5 years is a very long time.
I know.
From day in to day out, right? Here you have spent 5 or 6 days,
And still
right?
making you
And still it is making you think about so many things, right? Imagine you spend 3.5 years, day in and day out, right? 3-4 classes of Vedanta, right? And still that the power of that habit and the outlook is so strong. You must recognize that. Because otherwise what happens is that, you think that, once somebody has studied Bhagavad Gita, the person would be a highly transformed person. Not necessarily. Okay? Okay? one has to do that job. It is unavoidable. And different people do it in different degrees, and that's why different people assimilate. 3.5 year course, everybody attends. Do they all come out exactly the same in terms of the people and the behaviors and the understanding? No. Like in any other classroom. Okay? Any other classroom, you are going to school, 50 students, do they all come out to be the same?
No.
No. Right? So this is how it is. You need to help yourself do it. And this is what we call tapas, right? Tapas is not like going there and sitting in Himalayas and doing like that, you know. So you have to re-understand what is tapas. This is why what is being said is not ordinary. Okay? I just wanted to make you see the implication of that. Okay. Now, the next thing is dhanam. Now, dhanam is something that, you know, is what we call giving. Okay? Now, a human being is designed in some way, like any other animal, what? Designed to do what? Self-protection, self-preservation, self-enhancement. This is how everybody is designed. Okay? So that is what we call acting on one's instinct, because that instinct is given. Okay? Now, you need to understand something more about life to change that instinctual behavior. Okay? So, why should I one give? Why should we, in fact, what's wrong in just taking, and why should I even give? Why?
By simplistic version, if you receive from the order and you're part of that order, then you have to exhibit somewhat of the same qualities.
Excellent. Okay. You are already receiving a lot. Right? The thing is, we are totally oblivious to the fact that already I'm receiving a lot. Right? Your focus is what? One dimension. What I don't have, that seems like, oh, this is what I don't have, and this is what I need to get. But you don't pay enough attention to what all you are given. So that means your understanding of the situation is not in totality. Okay, it's a partial understanding. It's not that you don't have that. Maybe you don't have that, right? But that doesn't mean you don't have in a global level. Okay, I don't have this is very different from I don't have. I don't have means that has become everything. When I say I don't have this, that means there is everything. Here everything is fine. Here is what I don't have. My understanding is what? Proper. Otherwise that becomes everything. Here everything I see, and here I see something which I don't have. You see the difference? Okay. You need to shift. You need to shift, not positive thinking. I'm not asking you to do so-called positive thinking. Positive thinking means what? I have to tell you one thing. Okay. Now, there is a very famous thing about positive thinking. Okay. This thing of this glass, it's half empty. Somebody sees it as half empty. And the other one, who is a positive thinker, sees it as what?
Half full.
Half full. A Vedantin would see it as what? An objective person.
Reality.
What is the reality?
Reality is half empty.
Exactly. It's half empty and half full. This is the reality. This is the total picture. What has happened? Before you were focusing only here. Okay? Now you are focusing only here. In both, you are missing out the totality. Okay? Totality is, here it is missing, here it is full. Okay? With this, what I have, what can I do the best? That is being objective. Okay? Because if you only focus on positive, right, what happens? Your capacity to make decisions is impaired, because you don't see the totality of the situation. Okay? What is important is You know, this Surya was saying, in fact, Surya will tell you, I think he goes to this university, you know, that there was this, I think some very famous book, there was some case study, right? That Surya will tell you in the evening class, but I don't want to spend too much time, I just want to tell you the point, okay? The point is that there was this book which was published which says, which said that the universe will produce, okay, whatever you ask,
Yes.
right? So that means everybody will ask for the most, you know, everybody asks for the most desirable things, and the universe will somehow arrange itself to give you what you are looking for. Is it true?
No.
No.
Not at all. So that means this book was published when? In some 2006, 2007 or whatever. If that was the case, okay, that everybody, millions of people read, okay, and then they would all work for what? The best possible thing for everything. What happened in 2008 and 9? Financial and economic crisis, okay, which, how many people lost jobs? Not only in the US but throughout the world. You must understand the world does not work according to your wishes. If your wishes dictated the world, then what? You'll get everything that you want. Is it true? The world operates according to what?
The order.
Order. The order of cause and effect, which connects what? Not only my karma, but your karma, your karma, your karma, and makes a huge, it's almost like a one grand computer which puts it all together to produce the world that we experience. Within that, we are not just observers, okay? We are participants. So we do have certain capacity to intervene and change the things. Okay? But are we the ones who are the author of the whole change?
No.
We are not. That discretion, that understanding you must have.
Yeah.
So
But
that
if you
means,
have that understanding, sorry, I don't want to touch you.
yeah,
Just crossed my mind.
yes,
If you have, I don't know whether this is right or wrong way of thinking. If you have the understanding that the order creates this circumstance on how we live, then we really are capable of affecting change by making societal changes,
exactly.
so that the order gives us what we want.
Exactly. So that means you intervene by your actions.
Actions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You may not get exactly
What you want,
is
but
because
you
we're
at
all-
least
you
participate in the
participate.
direction that you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's. I wanted to emphasize something else in this. Okay, so what that case study that Surya showed is that not only it gave that kind of that message of this positive, what we call positive psychology or the positive thinking, right? That when things were going wrong in Wall Street, because of that book, some people chose to what? Ignore the problems that were emerging.
Oh God.
Okay? Because there is this whole focus on what?
Positivism.
Positivism. Okay? That means you are, in order to make an appropriate decision which is in keeping with what is required, can you only concentrate on the positives? No. You need to look at the totality of situation. The totality means you need to recognize here also, equally important. Neither you can focus only here, nor you can focus only here. You have to see the total. Okay? When we are talking about Vedanta, we are not giving you some kind of a pep, positive psychology or anything. Okay? We are making you alive to what is, so that you can function better as an individual, understanding the entirety, the whole situation accurately, and then making intelligent interventions and getting rid of all the burdens by understanding things clearly. Really, it is sophisticated. So, this is what we talk about when we say about the understanding of the order. The danam, why should I give? As Jay says, that when I am already a recipient, it's not a positive thinking, it's already there, just bringing it to my awareness. Okay? Then what? I operate out of my responsibilities because already I have made it in life. You don't need Vedanta. I mean, of course you need Vedanta, but that shift will bring about very, very fundamental change in how you interact with the universe. From a hoarding to a secure, right? A secure person. In order to give, what happens? You need to feel secure within yourself. If you're insecure, you can't part with anything.
This actually reminds me of my question, another question I had. You had said external situation may not change or doesn't change.
May or may not change,
May
because
not.
what happens is the order takes into consideration so many different factors, right? It's not the only variable.
Okay.
That's why.
But in a certain sense, as your perspective and understanding shift, some things may shift.
Some things may shift, but not exactly according to
Not like you did
yeah,
it.
yeah. Obviously it will change, but it will not change exactly the way you want it
One
to.
to one.
May or may not.
May or may not. Absolutely. Okay. So this is what we call dhanam. Okay. Now even this dhanam, which is giving, itself is such a critical thing to one's living that itself can be sattvic, rajasic or tamasic. Okay. So we will see the next verses. Okay. 20th verse. He says, दातव्यमिति यद्दानं दीयते नुपकारिणे देशे काले च पात्रे च तद्दानं सात्विकं स्मृतम्. He says datavyam. Datavyam means to be done. Okay, again.
To be what? Sorry, I didn't get that.
Datavyam is to be given.
Give.
In the sense that I am in a position, I am placed in the scheme of things. Okay, and here this is what is to be given by me. Okay, datavya. Okay, so that is in terms of, again, if you bring back, it is what we call duty. Okay, it's my duty rather than something that, oh, I'm very generous and I'm very kind and therefore I'm giving. In fact, it's my duty. Okay, so that is how it is datavya. Okay, yaddanam diyate anupakarine. And not with creating that sense of what? Smallness on part of the other. Okay? Yesterday, I think Alka said this story, right? Alka told this story that
10 rupees.
10 rupees, right?
10 rupees.
She told the story of 10 rupees that was, I mean, I don't know how many values she has inculcated, which are all here, subtle values. Okay. These are beautiful, it's amazing, it shows the refinement of the person. Okay. Otherwise everybody can give a big lecture, you can give, and this is all empty words. Okay. The refinement comes in how the person analyzes the situation. She gave the example that she had, I think everybody was there?
Yes.
Everybody
Yesterday
was-
while at night.
At night, did you give that example? That she had gone and some lady gave 10 rupees to her as a party fund. Okay. So then first she thought that, she would not take it because then, because maybe that person needs it more. So her intention was that person needs it more. But then she rethought the situation from her standpoint. Okay. And she said that, okay, if I don't receive it, what will the person feel? That in her vision, she's too incapable of giving. She didn't want to make her feel like that. So that's why she took. Okay? What a sensitivity. Then she said, she thought about giving 20 back. Okay? Then she says, no, even that's not appropriate. Why was that not appropriate? Because I take 10 from you, but I give 20 to you. What does it mean?
I'm bigger than you.
I'm bigger than you. Okay? You're conveying a message, I'm bigger than you. Sensitive. Okay? Then that means you are not creating that either while giving, you are not creating that sense that I'm bigger than you and I'm giving it to you. Anupakarine. Don't create that feeling on the part of the recipient. The recipient should feel totally no obligation. Should be happy. And should feel loved and cared. And not put down because you assume a higher position. This is how a mind becomes refined. Okay? So this is what, I mean, that kind of sensitivity, if somebody is able to exhibit in life, the person is evolved. Okay? Then what? Then what she did, she took it and then you put it in the
lamination.
lamination.
Put
And
it
then
in the
it is-
sthapana.
Yeah, exactly, in the sthapana. So she took it, she did not return, she respected the person, okay, and then she gave it an appropriate place. Okay, so that means not creating obligation on the part of the recipient. Not assuming this place of superiority when you are giving. Anupakarine. Okay? Then deshe kale cha patre cha. At the right time, at the right place, and to the right recipient. Okay? This is also equally important in giving dana. Okay? You want to give, but there is so much need everywhere. To whom do you give? At what time do you give? Okay? And whether the person is able to receive and to make proper use of it or not. Because you have, at any given point in time, we have limited funds and we have limited capabilities of what we can give. Okay? So therefore, using the discretion, where are my interventions required? Even when you hold a position of power, so many things need to be done and you have a limited budget. How are you going to use that money requires a certain thinking because you don't have unlimited money to solve all the problems.
No.
Okay? So that means you need to think about meaningful interventions. Clever, intelligent interventions. Okay? Even there, I want to remind you how you talk about, this organic tea. Meaningful interventions. Which are going to make bigger difference, not always requiring huge financial outlays at times. Okay? Deshe kale cha patre cha. You have funds, you have to use them. Okay? You want to give, but where, who, how, for what purpose? You need to be an intelligent person to discern and to make right choices.
Not compulsive giving.
Not compulsive
Not
giving,
compulsive giving.
exactly. And not irresponsible
Not
giving.
irresponsible giving.
Okay? So this is what makes it into what? Sattvic dana.
Neema, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Just on this dana, normally when there's a natural disaster, and tendency is for everyone wants to give.
Yes.
Now then there are a lot of stories that you may give, but the money doesn't go to
Reach
them.
them.
So where does that fall into? Because you really want to
Want
do
to.
it, you know they need it, right place, right time,
True.
but it gets lost in the way. So what do you do then?
True. I think what is important is you're right. You're absolutely right. Because these kind of events, they create a certain sense of responsibility in you, right? And you want to do something. Okay. Now here I think one can, you can't say that no organization is not giving, okay? Or you can't say all organizations are giving it effectively.
Yeah.
So that means that is your discretion to find out a credible source, right? And make some homework, okay? Before you give. So you're acting on your empathy, but you're acting intelligently.
And also with a
So
good intention.
you don't start with that nobody will use it, and not with the assumption that everybody will use it, So that means there are range of organizations, and if you make that effort, to identify a right one, most likely you can. But the only thing is that, there is no such thing called 100%. There is no 100% proof anything.
Yeah.
Right? But you make enough effort and enough
find
attempt,
out.
right? And when you have good intention, then it is good enough. Because after that, all nitty gritty of following that person and chasing that person, and that also becomes a little bit obsessive. Okay, but you do make that, attempt to give it to a worthy organization. You wanted to say something? Yeah.
Smaller groups maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that is something that you can identify, and that is what is going to make it into Satvikam Jnana. Okay, then the next one is Rajasic Dana. It says, Yattu pratyupakaratham phalamuddeshya va punaha diyate cha pariklishtam taddanam rajasam smrutam. So here he says that I give, but what I have in mind, okay, that what will I get back?
Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes you give, and by giving you create what? An obligation. Okay, so that means you give, and you said, okay, then you do it next time for me. So what does it mean? You have given, but you've also created a sense of obligation in the other person to return that.
It's basically investment.
Or like income tax
Investment
return.
for future
income
return.
tax cut.
Exactly.
Charity you give, you get an income tax reduction.
Yeah.
So even that is
Even that, absolutely. And I'm not, see, this is one thing you have to understand. This is not bad. There is no categorization of good and bad. You have
This is
to
just what
understand
type it
our
is.
Shastra it's not simplistic. It doesn't create this good, bad, positive, negative, these kind of crude ideas. It makes you a person who's totally alive to nuances. Okay? And able to see that there are different intentions which are present for doing the same act. Okay? And in that, the result, when it accrues to you, it will not only incorporate the action but also the intention. That's all. Okay? And there is a possibility of refining your intentions in anything that you do. Okay? So that means it makes you that person who is a discerning person. Okay? It's not that, now, at times it's good to claim income tax deductions. Why not?
Why not?
Right?
Especially if
It's
you are-
not like it is making you, but it is something where when it is done with a tremendous amount of sensitivity, where the focus is not just the deduction, okay, but it is the intention of helping, and this is a byproduct.
Yeah.
Okay, then that's fine. It's not like, you should not do this because it's not sattvic. I didn't do a sattvic thing. These are all the creation, what is being taught and what is received, the way it is received by a mind which is a small mind. So that means you again categorize, again judge others, judge yourself. This is the nature of frivolous nature of mind. We are talking about something much bigger, shifting our levels of understanding. Okay, it's not categorizing, now where have I done this? That is too simplistic. Okay, so that means that benefit that I have, why not? Right? I'm not creating these concepts of, oh my God, then I would be rajasic. Not like that. Okay, but the main intention is not just tax benefit. The main intention is what? Giving. Because that is something that is required of me. But if the whole main focus is what will I get, then that becomes rajasic.
You can think of it as oh my goodness, how you're grateful that they have this little loop that you can give. If it was taxed, you might be giving less. As it is not taxed, you're capable of giving more. So you can look at it in that way.
Being in the position of needing to receive support is also tricky. How you recognize that it's okay to receive, but also, sometimes receiving does have obligation, and then you have to accept that and participate in it.
Yeah, exactly. See, that is a very nice point, because sometimes what happens is that in societies where, I don't know, in all societies, it's not in one society or the other society, but that receiving, when somebody gives you, there is incapacity for you to receive, because it automatically creates a sense of obligation in you without the other person creating that sense of obligation in you. Okay, this is something that is not required. Okay, because you have to open yourself and make yourself available for receiving also. Right? So when somebody gives that 10 rupees, you should not, that whole idea is so much emotion, so much, this thing is exhibited by a person who hardly has anything but is willing to part with it. Okay? Now, if you constantly think about the obligation, that how can you not do? In fact, you need to be big enough even to receive it.
To gracefully receive
Gracefully
it.
receive it.
Gracefully receive
Well,
it.
actually, what I meant was like often, as somebody who has to raise money, art is generally more expensive than the revenue it brings in. So you're always in a position of needing. The people who give $15 give it freely.
Yeah.
But people who give 1,000, or companies who give 10,000 as a place to put their money, or if they're a tobacco company to, if you enter into that, you have an obligation with funding. You know what I'm saying? So you choose to engage in that type of receiving, accepting that you have to. All the NGOs deal with it, right? When they raise money for their work through corporates or foundations, they're making a choice to throw parties for them, or, sometimes it's not free.
That means, that is true. So that means that dhanam that corporate has done is rajasic, right? It's rajasic dhanam, because it's not just given. There is certain obligations which are created. So you're as a recipient, but this is exactly. So now we are talking about the giver. Okay, the giver. That means that any donation which is made by a corporate which creates an obligation is a rajasic dhanam. Okay, and you as a recipient have to respond to that.
Yeah.
Those
You have a
requirements.
free will and free choice to say, I want to be obligated to that company or whatever as well, right?
And in
That's what I'm saying.
which
In
manner?
sense that
Yeah.
as a receiver,
Now,
you have to give choice.
Yeah.
now in India, the company acts as a
Yeah, the company
Company
act
compulsory, they have
compulsory to give. Yes, exactly.
What is
10%.
that?
How
What
much
is
is
that?
it?
funding.
What is that?
2%.
yeah,
Yeah, 2%
2%
of the
of their profit.
net profit
You
has
have
to
to
go
give to
towards
charity.
Yes.
Charity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corporate social responsibility.
Responsibility.
Oh, wow.